Book one is about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, clinical psychologist and group practice owner, none other than Mr. Bryan Gastelle. Welcome once again, Mr. Bryan, to one of my podcasts. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Of course. So I'm a clinical psychologist. I run a group practice called Empower Psychotherapy. I'm entrepreneur, and my goal is to deliver care to folks that is evidence-based, collaborative, and easy to navigate.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Bryan. And you are suitable for my other podcast, Entrepreneurship 101. I'm inviting you to be part of it, and let's talk about entrepreneurship mindset. But today, let's talk about what are the some things everyone should know about mental health. Let's
Mhm.
start with you spend time in your field. If you had to distill it down to just one thing and a single most important truth about mental health that you wish every single person understood, what would it be and why?
That is a great question, and there's so many directions I could go in. But I will pick one that is very tried and true for me. Is that the body and the mind share a deep connection? So if we're not taking care of our body, we're not taking care of our mind, and so health is a part of mental health, and that's what I would tell everyone listening.
Mm, true. It's true what they said. What your body can conceive, your body can achieve. So it's true, Mr. Bryan. Thank you for the empowering answer. Despite all the awareness campaigns, so many people still believe mental health is binary. You're either fine or you're broken. Why do you think this is all or nothing mindset so persistent? And what is the loss when we think this way?
That's another good question. I think that the binary view on mental health comes a lot from just oversimplification. The way that information spreads, it tends to stick or be more popular if it's all or nothing type of thinking. It's easier to remember. But I think that that gray area is very important. It's true we're not all either broken or doing perfect, and a lot of people do come in with that mindset that it's one or the other.
Yes, definitely. One of the points we often miss is that you are not your thoughts. Can you unpack that for us? What does actually mean to observe your own mind without becoming enslaved by every thought that arises?
It's a challenge to observe our own mind because we live in it 24/7. We're not used to seeing it outside of ourselves. But if you cultivate that skill and think abstractly, like, where is this thought coming from? Why am I having it? Where is this emotion coming from? Uh, why am I having that? Then it builds this skill and this self awareness that is really integral in mental health and mental well being.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Bryan, you've said that mental health is not a character flaw, but deep down, so many people still carry shame, believing they should just be stronger. Why is that shame so sticky, and how does person begin to let it go of it?
Yeah, that's a big challenge for a lot of people. The idea that we should just be stronger, I think, is based on some cultural roots, some collective beliefs around, our behavior being kind of the end all be all indicator of our character, which isn't always true. And so we may be going through some kind of mental health crisis, and our behavior is let's say someone's depressed, they might isolate, and they might beat themselves up for saying, like, I can't get out of bed or something like that. But the truth is that depression is playing a role. So if we can step outside of ourselves and see it as like a little bit of a symptom, but also something to be overcome, I think that would be the mindset I would encourage.
Certainly, yes, indeed. We often treat mental health as if it's floating somewhere in the other, disconnected from the body. But trauma was stress live in the body, in shoulders, guts, fatigue. Can you talk us about that connection? What happens when we ignore the physical side of mental health?
Yeah, I mean, trauma can absolutely live in the body in various ways. It can even cause chronic pain. It can cause like a fight or flight reflex in certain scenarios. Um, there's many ways that the physical manifestations of mental health can show up. I mean, depression can, basically cause fatigue, muscle weakness, even pain to some extent. So, yeah, absolutely. There is definitely a mind body connection. And I think awareness of the body's indicators of how our mind's doing is another way that, we as people day to day can empower ourselves to understand and overcome.
Overcome. The brain is an organ, just like the heart or the liver. Why do you think we have such a hard time treating it with same neutrality? How would our conversation shift if we viewed a chemical imbalance the same way we view diabetes or high blood pressure?
I wonder that all the time. I think it's a goal that we should strive for, to see mental health as a form of health. Because yeah, if we treated it like diabetes or some sort of illness, then most people don't have much of a stigma around, like, let me go take some antibiotics for this illness that I'm going through, or let me, take some insulin for my diabetes. But suddenly, when it's mental health medications or, therapy, all of the stigma comes in, and we think, I should be stronger because the brain controls behavior. And I think we put behavior on this pedestal sometimes.
Yes, indeed. Sleep, movement, nutrition. These are the often dismissed as a basic advice. But how foundational are they are really? Can you build strong mental health on foundation of exhaustion or poor physical care?
No, no, you typically cannot. A lot of times, the body, if it's not being taken care of, mental health soon follows. One common example I see is like a diet imbalance. So, basically, our gut biome influences the way we feel. And so, if we're eating a lot of the same food, like sugars or fats, over and over again, then that's actually going to send our mood down. Missing sleep can have a similar effect. It makes us less functional, less able to learn, less able to control our emotions. Um, Exercise is another one. With a sedentary lifestyle, sometimes depression can creep in. So there's all kinds of connections between the body and the mind.
Connection for sure. So you mentioned that loneliness is an epidemic. We are connected digitally than ever, yet so many feel deeply alone. What is driving this? And what does loneliness actually do to our mental health over time, Mr. Bryan?
Yeah, I think that modern culture has created a little bit of a rift in terms of the way that we conventionally would socialize. I A lot of times, technology, although it can bring people together in certain ways, it also can be an excuse not to get out and be around people. And that is a core component of that social need that we all have. So I think the loneliness epidemic is in part related to that. I think there's also a bit of a culture shift in, it seems more normal or more common to be a little bit standoffish in social situations. So there's probably a lot of factors at play there, but it is certainly a rising problem.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And comparison used to be limited to your neighborhood. News to global, constant, and curated. How has social media reward our sense of self worth, and what can someone to do protect their mind from the comparison trap, Mr. Brian?
Yeah, it does depend on the person, but I think that social media needs to be used very carefully. So if you are going to use it at all, I would recommend that taking it with a grain of salt, so to speak, because if you look at social media, most of the time people are posting their wins, their major highlights. They're not posting their struggles or what it took to get there. And so, also, it is like, you talk about the neighborhood versus like the entire world. And so, we see in a neighborhood, we might see one person has something we want or something like that. On social media, we're bombarded with it. And so it's important to remember A, that people are going to post their wins more than their losses, right? And B, that it is not a great way to compare yourself and see how you're doing, because it is very biased in that way.
Mm, very biased indeed. Indeed. So burnout has become a badge of honor in shame or some circles. How do we get here where exhaustion is a status symbol, and what is the real cause of living our state in a chronic overwhelm, Mr. Bryan?
Yeah, that's a great question too. The chronic overwhelm, I think, comes from grind culture, where it is looked on as a positive thing to essentially overwork ourselves. And yeah, I mean, people will work multiple jobs, and that's somehow like a badge of honor. But really, work life balance, I think, is very critical, and it does influence the way we're able to function during the time that we are working. So I would encourage those that are struggling with that to think about quality over quantity.
Yes, definitely. Children are often overlooked in this conversation. A quiet, complaint child is not necessarily a healthy child. What should every parent, teacher, and adult know about the inner world of young people and how they express distress?
Yeah, it can look in all sorts of ways for younger people. Children express a lot of themselves through play. It's the child equivalent of, well, not equivalent, but it's similar to the way that adults handle work, in that they need to do it. It's the way they're wired. It's very important for them. And so, a lot of times, if you play with a child, they will open up to you. There's play therapy, where the entire premise of it is that you play games with a child, and eventually they become comfortable and they start sharing. So if your child is quiet, it could mean all kinds of things. And my best advice would be to meet them where they're at, find something they like to do, join them with that, and they will. tell you how they feel.
Definitely. So, Mr. Bryan, as a clinical psychologist and founder of Empower Psychotherapy, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short term goal is to expand to multiple states with Empower. Our home base where we started is Arizona, but we're already branching out into several other states. We've got a presence in Florida, Louisiana. We've got one in Alaska. So we're building it out state by state. And the long term is to go nationwide and give the public therapy that I think everybody deserves.
Mm, Good luck to your goals, Mr. Bryan, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a founder as well as a psychologist like you?
I would say go for it. If that's your passion, then don't let anything get in your way. Being a psychologist can be sometimes a bit of a journey. You will be challenged, but if you really enjoy it, it is worth every ounce of effort that you have to spend.
Yes, it's worth it, people, if you love what you are doing, just like Mr. Bryan. So, can you please recommend the books or books that influence your journey? And thank you for that empowering advice.
Thank you. Yes, I can. A major book. I will start with the clinical side. From a therapy standpoint, I would say that Cognitive Behavior Therapy: Basics and Beyond by Judith Beck is a fantastic reference to the type of therapy I tend to do the most. I think, even for somebody who's not a therapist and they're just looking for some self help, it's very interesting and useful. Um, then for running a practice, I would say Traction by Gino Wickman, or perhaps Good to Great by Jim Collins. Both are very telling, and they put you in that business mindset. And the last book I'll give a quick shout out to is Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. That's been integral in putting the structure together of Empower.
That'd be awesome, Mr. Bryan. Thank you for the recommended books. Help is not one size fits all. Therapy works for many, but not for everyone. Medication helps some, but not all. How does a person navigate the overwhelming landscape of options and find what actually works for them?
I would say the best thing you can do to navigate the mental health system is to get a therapist that is qualified in the area that you need. Uh, because the therapists that, especially ones that are proficient in that area, are going to walk you through the process and help you troubleshoot the medications. They're going to give you guidance and, of course, therapy as well. So it's the whole package, and it is probably the best way to learn the landscape and move through it in an efficient way.
Move through it. Recovery is not a linear, isn't it, Mr. Bryan? How
Mhm.
does that actually look like in a real life? How does someone cope with setback without feeling like they are failed or lost all their progress?
That is a very common issue, and I would say that the best thing I could recommend there is to think about the trend rather than the setback. So a lot of times, I'll work with folks and they will make 3 steps forward and take 1 step back. And that 1 step back is discouraging because it is frustrating, understandably, to take a step backwards or to have some kind of fall back on the symptoms or something like that. And it's important to remember that, oh, I was way back here when I started. And then, I had this hiccup versus all is lost, because I fell back a little bit.
Yes. You've worked with many people in deep pain. Where do you personally find hope when the weight of these works feels heavy? What keeps you going, Mr. Bryan?
For me, it's the just seeing people reach their potential. Anytime somebody, their life changes in a meaningful way, or even better, they'll tell me like, thank you for everything you've done. That gives me the fuel to do this work. It's intense work sometimes, but it's very rewarding as well.
Rewarding for sure. So, Mr. Brian, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season two, comedy 101 fourth season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in fourth season, and of course, my Trivia 101, Spiritual Awakening 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Coaching 101, and Bible Verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Brian, I'm inviting you to be part of my Entrepreneurship 101. And finally, if you could leave every single person with one actionable truth, one thing they can hold on to tomorrow morning when they wake up, what would it be, Mr. Brian?
Yes. So I would say that whatever your goal is, try not to let the larger picture get in the way. Think about what you can do if you threw 10 minutes at that goal that you've been putting off or that you've been thinking about for a long time, and do it. Try not to think about it too much, just go for it. That would be the
Mm,
advice.
just do it, people. Just do it. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Brian. And can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, absolutely. If you found this inspiring, or you want to learn more about the practice I run, or ideas I have, you can go to www.empowermytherapy.com and visit us at our website.
Yes, people, I support Mr. Bryan Gastelle because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to come. And Mr. Bryan, please do come over also to my Mental Health 101 and let's empower people all over the world through your expertise. So I have one more question. How do we support someone we love who is struggling without burning out ourselves? Where is the line between being there for someone and losing yourself in their struggle?
Yeah, I run into that a lot. It's a fantastic question. So I would say that the boundaries we set should be at the point where we start to, empty from our own cup, if you will. So if somebody needs support, then maybe lending an ear is something that we can do without burning out. But doing that every day for hours on end, that is something that would burn us out. So there would be the line: is what is going to cause us undue stress, because at the end of the day we can support somebody and point them in the right direction, but they have to make the call to get care and to feel better.
Mr. Bryan Gastelle, thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
What do you got, people? See you soon.